What's up guys, today we're going to be going over the Lorentz driver for the first time on my channel. So we'll be breaking down exactly how this weapon works, going over how good it is for Ackler, single target DPS, and all that good stuff. Then at the end of the video, we'll also be making a really cool build to take advantage of this weapon and make it pretty OP in PvE. And if you play on Steam and you're looking to pre-order Witch Queen or the 30th anniversary pack, you can do so in my next store. Link will be in the comments and description. So let's go and begin looking at the perks on the weapon. So looking at the exotic perk, this weapon marks targets with an automated targeting system. Final blows on marked targets generate a telemetry pattern. Picking up telemetry patterns grant bonus ability, energy. Collecting 3 telemetry patterns without dying grants this weapon bonus damage for a long duration. Then a secondary perk, a precision final blow, creates an implosion that pulls in nearby targets and damages them with an additional detonation. Then once you have the weapon, you can start the catalyst from the gunsmith, and it's pretty much like all of the previous seasonal exotics. And what that will do is it'll give this weapon an enhanced radar. Then once you have the 3 telemetry patterns, the secondary perk will proc from not only headshots but also body shots. So if you look at how all that works in the game, this weapon will track a target from pretty far away once you have the catalyst, and when you kill that enemy, it'll drop a telemetry pattern. When you pick that up, you'll get a chunk of all 3 of your abilities. And the thing that makes this pretty good is not only do you not need the Lorentz driver out to track targets, you only need to kill them with it to drop the telemetry pattern. All you have to do is just have the weapon on and you get the final blow on that target that is marked and it'll drop the pattern. And once you pick up the 3rd one without dying, you'll get a buff for 30 seconds, which will increase the damage of the weapon. It'll also make the secondary perk on this weapon work on body shots too. And whenever you already have the buff going and you pick up another one, it'll just reset the timer back to 30 seconds. So looking at the accuracy of this weapon, it is crazy. Whenever you headshot a target or body shot them once you have the buff going, it will pretty much just clear everything nearby. It will pull them all in like a gravity well, then detonate them with a huge void explosion. And this reminds me a lot of Reservoir Burst on fusion rifles, because both perks take a weapon type that is usually absolutely useless for Ackler and makes them top options for Ackler. So you take a fusion rifle, it's pretty much terrible for Ackler, right? Group Ackler. But then you throw Reservoir Burst on it and it's insane. And same thing with this perk. You take a linear fusion rifle that is usually absolutely worthless for Group Ackler, and now it is a top option. Then we also look at the damage on Carl. First off, without the buff, we hit 36,663. Then once we pick up our 3rd pattern and get the buff, it will now go to 54,991, which is going to be an entire 50% buff, which is absolutely huge. And it's so much more damage that this weapon is now doing more damage per shot than a heavy linear fusion rifle with Warple. That is pretty crazy. Then if we look at the rate of fire on this weapon, testing the 1 mag and 2 mag at the same time, it's going to have the same rate of fire as the threaded needle, which we just showed off. So it's going to be doing more damage and the same rate of fire as a heavy linear fusion rifle, which is really good. So looking at those DPS numbers right here, the 1 mag was 56, almost 57,000, then 2 mags drops to 51,000, so it doesn't fall off that much at all with just a single reload. But this season, once again, we have the particle deconstruction artifact mod, which will give fusions and linear fusions 40% more damage than any other weapon can get this season. But the unfortunate thing about the Lorentz driver is, since it is in the energy slot, unlike most of the power linear fusion rifles, you can't throw on a regular fusion to get the full buff for you going before you start using it. So you either just have to build the buff completely with the driver itself, or you can use something like threaded needle first to build the full buff for you. So if you're playing solo, it's gonna take 5 shots to get to the max damage per shot. But more often than not, when you're on a boss fight, there's gonna be all kinds of people on your fire team using this mod this season with things like 1K or even regular fusion rifles. So in theory, you should be able to get the max buff right off the bat in most situations. So now with that mod, the DPS goes to almost 80,000, then over 2 mags, almost 72,000. So now that is on par with pretty much the top options in the entire game, which is pretty crazy. You could also pair this with a threaded needle in your heavy slot. You could use auto loading, which I don't have one on my account. And what you can do is to swap back and forth between the driver and the threaded needle. And since they both have the same rate of fire and both pretty much do almost the same amount of damage, what that'll allow you to do is just avoid reloading and maintain that 1 mag DPS number pretty much forever. So with that combo just going back and forth, you'd be doing roughly 80,000 DPS and never have to reload. So this weapon is not only good for Ackler, it's also extremely good for single target damage / boss damage. So the problem we're going to run into is we want to use it for both Ackler and boss damage, but the more you use it for Ackler, that means the less you'll be able to use it for boss damage, and vice versa. If you use it for boss damage, you won't have as much ammo for Ackler. And that is where this build comes into play to fix that problem. So we're going to be starting off with bottom tree Voidwalker for Devour with the Vortex Grenade. Then looking at the mods we'll be using, the first one we'll be using will be Grenade Kickstart, which will give us a chunk of our grenade back when we throw it. Then we'll have Elemental Ordnance. Whenever we get a Grenade Final Blow, we'll create a Void Elemental Well. Then with those Elemental Wells, we'll be doing two things. The first one will be right here, Phantom Might. Whenever we pick up the Void Elemental Well, our Void weapons will get a 25% increase to the damage, which will stack with other buffs in the game. Then the other thing we'll be doing with those Elemental Wells is have Elemental Charge. That way, whenever we pick up a Void Elemental Well, we'll get 2 stacks of Chargeable Light. Then we also have Supercharged On. That way, when we pick up multiple Elemental Wells, we'll get up to ×4 Chargeable Light. And finally, with those stacks of Chargeable Light, the main thing we'll be using is Extra Reserves, which is as we have higher and higher stacks of Chargeable Light, every single Void Final Blow will have a chance of dropping special ammo, and whenever special ammo does drop, it will consume all of your stacks. So this will give us infinite ammo with the driver, and the thing about this build is you can use either the Nazareth Sin, which will work really good for getting your super back and all of your abilities back very quickly, but you could also use the Verity's Brow, which will give you more grenade damage and help not only you, but also your allies get grenades very quickly. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing. Both work extremely well with this build. So overall, the point of this build is you just proc Devour and start spamming your grenades and your driver or Ad Clear, and every single time you get a Grenade Final Blow, which will be very often, you'll create a Void Elemental Well. You'll pick those up to get all the way up to ×4 Chargeable Light, and as you're doing that, everything you're using is Void damage, so eventually you will create special ammo, and before you know it, there will be special all over the place, and you'll be spamming the driver left and right. You'll pretty much have the buff forever and just chain it over and over again, which will make it even easier to use and do more damage. And on top of that, you pretty much have infinite for all 3 of your abilities, because every single time you pick up that Elemental Well or the Telemetry Pattern, you'll get a chunk of all 3. Then your grenade is even faster because of Nazareth Sin or Verity's Brow plus Devour. So you have infinite of all of your abilities, and on top of that, extremely fast grenades. Then you just have amazing Ad Clear with the driver. Then whenever you get up to high health targets or bosses, you have the driver slash for the needle with the full buff and debuff combo going on, and you pretty much just tear through them also. So yeah, this build makes this weapon absolutely insane in PvE. It allows you to spam it for Ad Clear while still having ammo left over for boss fights, so you can pretty much just use it with 100% uptime and take advantage of both the Ad Clear and also the single target damage. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for the video, just some strike gameplay left. Anyways, thanks for watching, catch you guys next time.
Kill them. Bring our dead. stitches.